to your Daily Dose. My name's Robert. It's my pal Susan, and we're talking about an assortment of things. One of them today, as we left off our last episode, is understanding the possibility of who you are. If I heard you right, Susan, right? That
Absolutely, yes.
you framed it through, through yaks, through improvisation, and as our common question and concern is through this, how could improv be for me, right? My immediate response is that improv is inherently for everybody. We do it all the time, and as you know, I give the examples of conversation and mirroring and mentioning emotional, all the things we do inherently, and at the same time, it's a developable skill when we add mindfulness to it, when we add intent, when we add, joy. All of those things make it more, and then it becomes applicable in ways like, you've been showing us in beautiful ways, and we did the other day with, what's in the box here, or how you played what's not wrong with your life at your clinical assessment. So to your question and your thoughts, how do people know what's in them or not? And if not, how do you help somebody say this is for you? Actually, there's more in you.
Well, it's my experience in our classes when you make a broad statement like, we were born of creativity, all of us can sing. It's very encouraging and empowering. But what happens inside of me is that I'm like, because I have all these other voices and all of this,
Yes.
all these decades of experience that looked a certain way. So I have to be willing to and interested in, have to have the faith that it's a fight I want to fight. I have to trust that my doing it is worth the risk, that it's scary, and trust that it'll be okay. But I'm in a background of self-forgiveness, with an auga and a bunch of people who are similarly saying, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but they just jump in. And so it's very complex.
Let's
It
let's
can be
not know you
shyness, it
better.
can be intimidation.
Oh yeah.
So the support that we get from you when you say, I just love what you said once, and I've quoted it so many times. There's a school of thought that says some people can sing and some people just can't. And then you said, I'm going to find that school and burn it to the ground. It's just so funny. And that has actually been very more empowering to me. It gave me more hope and more reason to try, and more ways to figure out how to do it myself, like sing in the car when nobody's there, that kind of thing.
And it's iterative, like you said. I don't think you go from a lifetime of being of buying the criticism. We're back to critics, right?
But
People,
it could be self-criticism.
and it can absolutely nobody could have ever said it, but it could have been how you felt or what you perceived others thought, right? So inner critic or outer critic, buying it either way,
Yeah.
hearing it,
Yeah.
and taking it in. Peeling that off happens in layers. It doesn't. There's no way, in my mind, that someone just says, you know what, today's the day. I've never been a singer, but I'm going to Broadway and getting a leading role. It's like, okay, that makes for a fun Will Ferrell movie. And it's not. What it does is that, I think this is important. It doesn't honor the process, which I would equate with the Tao and Taoism, the way, the force, how things work, right? And honoring the process, being iteratively, yes, and building, not stepping into the gym and trying to jack 250 on the squat rack your first time, right? All of those things, by honoring the reality of how the world works, you honor yourself, and then you have to do maybe the most difficult human thing: be patient and allow for true growth, and surround yourself with like-minded or at minimum supportive people for your path. That's not a small order, I think.
And be willing to accept the variation on what you thought was
Oh yeah. Yeah. Releasing the
where we were
results.
going. Yes.
Yeah. That's huge, right?
Again, yeah, one of my favorite things that happened in class recently was when a woman was right at the beginning of when it was her turn to say something, she went, ah, thinking that she was panicking, searching for a word, and her doing that, you saw that as the exact right thing for her to be expressing at that moment, and you said singing, and and it taught all of us in that moment. It doesn't have to be a word or something, some convention that other people think. It's what's happening inside of us to validate that, to trust that.
Yes, yes, and right in that moment that there are, that's the idea of there are no wrong responses. And here's the phrase I've been wanting to bring forward. Have you heard this one? Unconditional positive regard.
Sure, sure.
Carl Rogers, right? That line of thinking, that line of, we mentioned acceptance on a recent Daily Dose. That's what I meant to. It's like, I don't want tolerance. I don't even want acceptance. I want unconditional positive regard. That's what I want. And that's what I think allows people all of the Maslow's hierarchy to get to their higher selves. All of the trust, respect, validation, things that we need in order to open our hearts to be who we want to be, require unconditional positive regard. And when you can harmonize that and synchronize that amongst a group of people, oh man, I think that's what we do with yaks. I really do.
It's magic. Yeah, it's really powerful. And I will say, one needs to have had at least a touch of it to recognize it. If you've not had anything unconditional, like when you
Right,
were a kid,
right.
if you had parents that held you,
Transactional.
yes, I mean, it could be from anywhere. That,
Absolutely.
I don't know, maybe your dog, does it count if it's from your canine because their love is unconditional? I think it does.
It's a great example. And I love that you bring back that, and it gives us a good cap right here to mention that part of the reason people may not be able to recognize this is they've never heard of it from themselves.
Yeah.
They've never had a person to offer this to them. That, if that's really what it's about.
Okay, I
Well,
have a story for when we come back.
all right. I look forward to it. See you next time on the Daily Dose.